As participants are aware, today we will be covering topics on IPO review in alternate investments, namely Brookfield India Real Estate Trust with SWOT and business models and IPO listings review. We will also be covering IBC and latest NCLT cases, corporate finance with real life examples such as ILFS, DHFL, etc. There will be a discussion and views sharing on economic survey, budget expectations, investment strategy, bad bank, and market trend. In coming weeks, we'll be covering various topics like industry performance and financial statement analysis, wealth management, charts, market trends, and various topics suggested by members. We also request all participants to subscribe to our Think Tank YouTube channel for watching webinars, conclaves, and join, connect, and network on Think Tank Webinars group on LinkedIn, which has been specially created on suggestion of many members and panelists. So we once again welcome all members and speakers and request our first speaker to kindly start the session.
Sandeep, can we have you to start your presentation? That would be great. Hmm.
Okay, this series, as we go on, and this is something which is different from the earlier ones, which were IPOs proper for shares, and this is for units of REIT. And if you remember, when we took the series for wealth management, we had one class of investments where we said that uh, REITs can be an investment avenue instead of actually buying of commercial property. This is what it is actually, and fortunately for us, we have a stellar name in the industry from Brookfields. In fact, they have come out with a initial offer. And to come to the fact, first, yes, the disclaimer, and more importantly, whatever I say on the IPO as well as the SWOT in terms of the document itself, which I am presenting, uh, are my own thoughts, but it's better for you to look at the risk factors and consult your stockbrokers or investment advisors before you invest. And the presenter does not take any responsibility for any losses incurred. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so to come to the model of this story, in fact, I should say, instead of shares, what you are investing is the number of units. And Brookfield REIT is one of the strongest across sections globally. In fact, they have a AUM of $575 billion, in which RE itself, real estate, is about $200 billion. Next comes infra, renewable power, uh, private equity, and credits across 30 countries, and listed on the NYSE as well as the Toronto Stock Exchange with a market capitalization of $63 billion. To come to the Indian scenario, in fact, it is very heartwarming to actually see foreign investors uh, coming in and investing in these spaces, which I will count again. Real estate, they have already invested 4.6 billion. Infra, they have invested 9.7 billion. Renewable power uh, was zero point 0.6 billion. And in fact, I've been myself talking to them, and they are wanting to acquire assets on renewable energy as well. So that's one more field which they are keen on. Private equity, of course, they are very strong on, and so the amount comes to about $17 billion as of the 30th of September 2020. And in December 2020, they added two more in their kitty, which is in Bangalore as well as Chennai, worth about $2 billion. This is both real estate. To come to the point on one of the things which is there, this requires a lot of capital. And who would have capital better than actually the likes of Blackstone or Brookfield or in any other foreign institutions which are backed up by foreign money, which is cheap, and because it is capital intensive and it's difficult to replicate. Uh, that's one of the things which these guys have come out with. They are already located in Mumbai, Gurgaon, Noida, and Kolkata. And as I said, they are going into Bengaluru as well as Chennai. Placemaking capabilities, the advantage, these are the strengths. Placemaking capabilities and capacities. What happens, this placemaking is something, might be a new uh, term which is being used, but this goes to show that you have offices dispersed across the city or across maybe cities or within the state itself, the intra city itself. What people are trying to do is consolidate, bring them under one roof, may not be under one in the same building, but maybe in and around the same complex. So this is what helps, and this is one strength for Brookfield REIT, because the size of their offices, the size of the complex itself is quite huge. Then you have the advantage, they have the advantage of a diversified tenant roster and absolutely stable cash flows. And more importantly, they have gains. Rental income, of course, is for renting of the properties. Then you have interest incomes where the interest comes in from the SPVs. And if and when they sell off their own properties, if they think that it has to be sold, if they make a gain or a loss, that's the other way around. But if they make a gain, these are three different things and three different forms where REITs make their income or generate income. What happens, in fact, in terms of growth for a REITs transaction? It very well depends upon um, this rental income, interest income. Capital gains is not a regular feature, but capital gains mark to market can be kept in mind if you at all have to have a view on the stock. I would not advise that much of a weightage to this factor, but that is a small contributor to the likelihood of a good profitability. How do you see the taxation in terms of the same, whatever is the money which has been earned by the REIT, the same way, if they distribute it in the form of rentals, if they distribute it in the form of interest, there are two different things, and which differentiates it from the distribution as dividend. So if it is in the form of uh, rentals as well as in the form of interest, what happens is they have to deduct capital gains. Oh, sorry, the amount needs to be paid to the holders of the units after a deduction of 10% per on the distribution. This is very much different from if the distribution takes place by way of dividends, where the distribution takes place directly without any deduction of taxes. As of now, I'm saying with effect from the Finance Act 2020. Earlier there used to be dividend distribution tax. So that's the differential between the earlier portion and now. So there won't be any distribution or TDS upfront for dividends. It'll be in the hands of the unit holders, and they will have to work out whether their limits cross the 10 lakh threshold for payment of taxes for dividends in certain matters. One important aspect which has happened, and this is quite and to be kept in mind actually, the Finance Act 2020 also said the amount of distribution by way of dividends will be exempt only if the SPV has not exercised the option to discharge their income tax liability at a concessional rate of 25.17%. What does that mean? So suppose the REIT says that we will exercise the option of the concessional rate of 25.17%, then you will have to go to the old regime where there'll be deduction of taxes on its dividend distribution tax. So that's a dampener which really, I would say that even if the REIT, for example, wants a lower distribution tax, lower rate of tax for themselves, that won't be allowed, because you'll have to again tax the dividend which they are going to distribute. One more factor which I have not mentioned, there is a formula based on which they can distribute the dividends only if the distributable cash flows is above a particular limit. So they cannot distribute if the amount worked out as per the net cash flows is below a threshold. So all these kept in mind, I think, again, this is an offer worth investing in. The only factors which you need to actually keep in mind is whether there'll be again some disruption in people going to work and the renewals which are taking place. So that is one of the factors which is important. But they have at least from the offer document, they have clearly said that the amounts they have received by way of rentals have been phenomenally good. The renewals have been 85%. So I don't see any reason why that should not continue in the future as well. So that's my analysis of the Brookfield REIT. Thanks, Aditya.
Yeah, thanks, Sandeep. That was really great. Do we have Manoj? He wants to, if you
Yeah,
can
thank
share
you.
some thoughts.
Thank you, Sandeep and Aditya, for a very good presentation on alternate investments and the IPO analysis with SWOT. So there are lots of issues in REIT. Many people have found it difficult to understand the instrument.
True.
They wonder what the instrument should be compared to, whether it should be compared to the real estate stock, whether it should be compared to a mutual fund, or whether it should be compared to a fixed deposit. So in fact, many professionals and fund managers, analysts also inquiring on how do we evaluate the REIT. So it's a wonderful presentation, the SWOT well done, and also the background. I would like to share a few thoughts on it. The company management and the investment bankers also had the interaction with us, and the whole industry is very happy. The IPO review, alternate investments, and real estate investment trust, and the offerings by the real estate investment trust for the global investors and Indian investors, and the India growth story is coming, and they get a good response and drive investments, which generates huge employments in the real estate sector. The users also are very happy because they get quality properties at reasonable rentals with very good facilities, and with the option to exit or move to other places whenever they want, depending on the number of employees they have. So it's a wonderful thing. Now there are lots of tax implications in REITs. There are different options given in the Income Tax Act, especially since the last year's budget. The REIT can select the option it wants, and dividend distributions are there. There are interest distributions also, and also the AMCs and the sponsors, they look at also distribution by way of redemptions and also buyouts. These details are usually given in detail in the red herring prospectus, RHPs, which are very fat documents over 400 pages. People have limited time and bandwidth to understand the RHPs and look at the various things they want. Now, as Anupam mentioned, think tank platforms has been doing deep dive since a decade on so many asset classes and specific countries, sectors, corporates, financial instruments, SMEs, large corporates, mid corporates. So here there are quite a few issues. What is coming in Brookfield is they said 85% of the payout in the first year would be by way of interest, which is taxable at the slab rate of the investor. And there is TDS also on interest. Here, to boost the India growth story, the facilities are given in the Income Tax Act. NRIs have a TDS of 5% only, plus a surcharge and a cess. And for others, the TDS rates are higher. It goes up to 10%. And FIIs and FPIs, for them it is 10% surcharge and there is a cess. For retail investors, it is 10% plus surcharge plus cess. Of course, retail investors, depending on their tax bracket, whether they are retired or whether they are small investors, they have a opportunity to get the refund or adjust the TDS against the taxable income or get a refund. For domestic corporates, it is 10%. And dividend, there are options available to the REIT. I believe as per the option exercise, dividend is tax-free. And of course, for different categories of investors, depending on the options they select for themselves, they can have their own option. And there are several REITs which have come. The think tank team had done a lot of events right when the AIF regulations were formed. They were notified. There were dialogues for amendment for the regulations to make India a tax-friendly country for REITs. Earlier, even Indian companies used to go to Singapore for listing of REITs. It was very friendly. Today, a lot of amendments have been done by the government, and to see the REIT story takes off. Infrastructure Investment Trust and Real Estate Investment Trust, both are taking off. There are few success stories. We had discussed the REIT for Embassy earlier. There was a REIT for Mindspace. There was a REIT for Ingrid. There was a REIT for IRB also. Now, since the REITs are becoming slowly popular, Embassy and Sterlite Ingrid have rewarded investors. They are getting a good premium since the listing. They have also got access to dividend and interest. And what we have seen is in Brookfield, the IPO price is at a discount to NAV. NAV is much higher. Of course, NAV, there are many options available to savvy professionals involved in valuations, so manipulate valuations based on various assumptions they do on the discounting rates. But accepting it at face value, there is a discount. And also there is a return which they have assured in the RHP. In the year one, return of 7.95% is there. And the company is claiming growth of about slightly over 6%. Year two, return will be 8.14%. These are pre-tax returns comparable to the current FD rates. They are significantly higher. It gives a huge opportunity to the investor in India, the retail investor, the corporate investor, the PMS investor. For the global investors, it is even a much bigger opportunity because often global investors do carry trades and arbitrage where they borrow money in the international market at very low rate. Of course, they are taking exchange risk, but they are getting returns of 7.95% to 8.14%. And apparently, as per the company, based on the inflation rates and the forecast on inflation, possibly the rentals will also go up, returns on the REIT investors will go up. There is also an upside possible on appreciation of the real estate property they are owned. There is a concern on COVID, which is a very valid concern. Everybody has said work from home will affect the property market, real estate market, but the RHP has given clear disclosures about the various properties and the occupancy rates and vacancy rates. apparently in Mumbai segment in some of the properties, vacancies are today 16%. Is this a difficult scenario? Is it a weakness or is it opportunity? Apparently, from sources and the roadshows, it has been seen that 16% vacancies were at lower rental rates. Now, there, because of the stimulus by the government of India and also by the global so many countries, there is a pickup in the property market and a pickup in occupancies also, and possibly the rental rates would be much higher than the rates at which some of the companies vacated in panic to save their cost and survive in the difficult period. And it is opportunity, possibly the rentals will go up, possibly the returns will be much higher than 7.95% and 8.14% based on conservative growth projections. So this is a very clear opportunity both from the pre-tax angle and the post-tax angle. The risk factors remain because it's an uncertain environment, it is a volatile environment, and as announced by the team, all the company people, investment bankers, CEOs, CFOs from the company are also welcome to join in the meetings and share their own perspectives and have an interactive discussion with us point by point on any issue. The RHP is over 400 pages. Our team has divided the RHP and many team members have gone through page by page on the investments on the properties and the various geographical regions, the commercials, the MNCs, the domestic companies who have rental agreements with the REIT, the vacancies, the tax implications, the peers, the industry analysis. So this is the best way to do a real deep dive and analysis of the RHP and also looking at the excellent regulations we have on REIT. So it's a regulated market. The companies have a mandatory number of independent directors to have on the sponsors. Independent directors, now there are many more independent directors than the minimum required. That is opportunity for the investors so that they can good opportunity and they can also avoid, there are many other companies people are aware of in the mutual fund sector where because of various reasons, investors have lost money and they have not been able to get redemption on their mutual funds, particularly in the areas of credit risk and many other funds. So it's an opportunity. Look at the RHP, look at the risk factors before investing, look at your own tax implications, and look at other REITs also. There are quite a few other REITs, IRB, Sterlite, Mindspace, Embassy, and also the discount on NAV and the assured payout. Do a deep dive, look at your own risk factors, try to be your own wealth manager, and in case you have to go across to anybody's advice, look at the views of the experts, of people who understand the RHP and are willing to share the knowledge they have got on RHP. And of course, one can always go to their financial intermediaries, stockbrokers, investment bankers, distributors to get further investment advice. And based on that, you invest. It's a really a wonderful presentation, very intensive deep dive. And it is very good to have a lot of experts ahead sharing their knowledge on the topic selected by the team. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Manoj. That was really interesting. In the interest of time, can I have few words from Dushyant? Just a couple of minutes will be good.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, I think my video is on, but it's not coming like.
No, we can see you. We can see the bridge behind you. So yeah.
Okay. See, the thing is, yeah, Sandeep, it's a wonderful presentation. And Manoj has also summarized the other aspects very well. I only have to, ask one thing. If we have to only take it as a FD or a product which is better than FD, but then, we also look at sometimes, this is not only a fixed return product. I would say we look for capital appreciation also. So what are the chances of, capital appreciation in these InvITs? Because if you look at Mindspace or look at Embassy, they are now steady around 345, 350 around that level. So ultimately looks like a product where you get some income which is also not very guaranteed every year, because depends upon their economics and their the occupancy levels and things like that. So I would say the risk factors are really quite on a higher.
Your views are welcome. And
Yeah, no,
capital
that's what
appreciation.
I'm saying, Manoj. Yeah. So I would say the uncertainty portion are going forward. Maybe 1 year, 2 year, the incomes are there. Then further, how it pans out, that one has to really apply his mind, depending upon what's the overall economic recovery and activity within the country and things like that.
It's a valid point.
Thanks.
Uncertainty is there, but it's a uncertain market that applies to fixed deposits also. We know about experience of various fixed depositors. Ultimately, the rating matters, and the evolving ratings matter. The instruments are listed on stock exchanges. Please watch the listing prices on a regular basis, every day, every week, every month, every year. You have the option to exit. You have the option to re-enter. You have the option to add more on a listing based on your savings. Look at your own risk profile, look at your own investment strategy, look at your own financial plan. Based on that, you can allocate a limited portion of your total portfolios or total surplus savings to the REIT instrument. As we have said earlier in various other investment classes also, allocate a limited portion only, and also in high quality best instruments. That is really what every investor should do, and keep the risks in mind. There are country risks also, there are specific risks, geographical areas, different states at which the investments are there, and also there are risks about the management and the sponsor. Try to read the RHP. It's available on the website, and do a deep dive. Look at every page of RHP. It is really a great learning experience, not only for all investors, even for the managements themselves. Actually, I wonder how many of the managements and the directors or sponsors also take pains and efforts to read the whole RHP, which our team has done. Very good thoughts, Sandeep. Very good thoughts, Dushyant, Aditya, Anupam. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was really appreciating. Yeah, Sandeep, you want to say something?
Yeah. Dushyant, like I said, there is this element of risk in terms of property prices and appreciation in the property prices, or depreciation in the capital prices of the asset. But if one looks at the timing of this issue, if they have timed it right, actually, if everyone knows that the property markets are low, they might stand to gain from this angle. And this is a conjecture, but with a disclaimer, I'm saying this. But this is one thing which is there. The second thing is the stock or the unit prices for these will not only depend upon the capital appreciation in the value of the portfolio which they have, which is the real estate. It will also be in terms of what is the growth year on year which they will actually come out with. Will they be developing more properties? Will they be renting out more properties? Right now, we are seeing a stagnation of all the units, because people are not going to the offices. If everything opens up, things could be different. It could be very well, appreciated that things might be different. People will start going back to the offices, and there'll be more demand. So that is the basis on which I think this issue will be, if not for growth, in terms of capital growth, at least it covers you for your fixed, return which you get from others, other, avenues which you have.
Hi,
Thanks,
this is
Sandeep.
hi,
Yeah,
this is Ajay Parmar. I just want to speak.
Hi,
Hello.
Ajay. Yeah, Ajay, go ahead,
Yeah.
please.
See, I consider REIT as a quasi fixed income instrument. So you should not expect in terms of capital appreciation anything. If it comes, I think you should welcome it as a part of the bonus. So the kind of a risk you take in a good quality property definitely some return will come, but expect only the fixed income part, and just you have to see that what is the underlying property the REIT is having, because the heart of this question, the answer lies on what quality of property they are having, which place it is having, what are the rentals out there. So it is already mentioned in the document, and I believe Brookfield has got a very good brand. So whatever properties they take best of the property in the town in which they are basically investing. So I believe it's an investment where you want to beat, or you want to earn, say, little higher than maybe fixed deposits, or maybe equal to company FD. This will be a little less than company FD, but it will give you in sort of a more comfort. Why? Because you have the underlying security with you. It's a real estate. So that's why I think there will be definitely an interest, and it's picking up. We just had a half a dozen REITs, not much, but this market is picking up as an alternate investment.
Thanks,
Very
Ajay.
good,
That was really
very good
great.
insights, Ajay. You
Yeah.
have great insights as an investment banker dealing with global investors. Very good insights and how global investors compare with different asset classes.